My father handed my sister the company I built. I walked away, joined our biggest client, and watched the firm that ignored me collapse without me. Imagine this. You walk into a meeting expecting a promotion, the one you've earned for 14 years. Instead, your father clears his throat, looks you right in the eyes, and hands your job, your company, your future to someone who's worked there for barely a year. That's what happened to Ethan Matthews. But the part they didn't expect, the quiet son they underestimated, was the only thing keeping the company alive. And when he walked out, he didn't slam the door. He left it open, so they could hear every piece of their empire crumble behind him. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or treated like your loyalty was owed instead of earned, hit that like button right now. Subscribe, settle in, and get ready, because this is one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear all week. Ethan Matthews wasn't just an employee at Matthews Construction. He was the guy who unlocked the doors at sunrise, and sometimes the one locking them again after midnight 14 years. 14 years of missed birthdays, canceled dates, and weekends swallowed by emergency calls like, "Ethan, the foundation team is behind schedule. Ethan, the client is threatening to pull the contract. Ethan, we need you to fix this, again." And he always did. Not because he was a pushover, but because it was the family business, because his dad had promised him for years. "One day, son, you'll run this place." He believed it. He built his life around it. The offices smelled like fresh wood and machine oil, the essence of everything he'd poured himself into. He knew every project, every client, every crew member. He was the one who caught mistakes before they became lawsuits, the one who negotiated deals when his father was too stubborn to bend, and everyone in the company knew the truth. Matthews Construction didn't run with Ethan. It ran because of Ethan. So when his father called a family leadership meeting, Ethan walked in, hopeful, nervous even, because he knew what this meeting meant. Or what he thought it meant. He sat down. His sister, Clara, sat across from him. Immaculate blazer, new manicure, expensive perfume. The work she'd joined the company barely a year ago, mostly doing PR posts on social media and showing up to client dinners for brand image. Ethan didn't think anything of it, until his father folded his hands and said the words that felt like a punch to the lungs. "We've decided Clara will be the next CEO." Ethan blinked, smiled a little, waited for the joke, but his mother chimed in next, voice gentle, overly gentle, the way people sound when they're bracing themselves. "You'll stay on as operations manager. Stability is where you shine, honey. Leadership, well, Clara just has a natural presence for it." Presence, not skill, not experience, not 14 years of keeping this company from rotting inside out. Number presence. In that moment, the room felt smaller. The air thickened. Ethan's palms went cold, his heart too loud in his chest. Inside his mind, one question kept screaming, "Is this all I ever was to them?" The meeting ended with pats on the shoulder, forced smiles, and a congratulations Ethan didn't remember giving. That night, he lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every sacrifice he'd made, the calluses on his hands, the holidays he'd worked through, the nights he'd slept on the office couch, and it hit him. He wasn't the heir. He wasn't the future. He was the safety net, the one they assumed would always be there, always catching the things Clara dropped. He deserved better. The next morning, Clara bounced into the office with a new CEO nameplate. Ethan sat at his desk. He stared at his calendar full of responsibilities and cleared all the tasks that weren't his job. No extra calls, no covering for late crews, no rewriting budgets Clara rushed through, no rescuing projects she didn't understand. When his father barged into his office one afternoon, face red, "Why weren't you at the client meeting? Clara asked you to handle it." Ethan just looked up calmly. "That's the CEO's job, Dad, not mine." Silence. For the first time in his life, he watched his father realize he had no control over him. And within weeks, cracks appeared everywhere. Clara lost a major contract worth millions because she misread the zoning requirements. The senior foreman threatened to quit after she tried to revise the workflow based on a YouTube video she watched. Clients complained that emails went unanswered, proposals incomplete. Projects stalled because Clara's beautifully color-coded spreadsheets meant nothing without actual field knowledge. Every fire she started used to be one Ethan would quietly put out. Not anymore. So when she called demanding he fix the bidding disaster, he simply replied, "Clara, you're the CEO. You should handle it." That sentence shattered her confidence like glass. It took 3 months for his father to come knocking. Literally, he showed up at Ethan's house at 9 p.m., exhausted, desperate. "Son, please, the teams are in chaos. Clara's overwhelmed. We need you. We'll renegotiate titles. You'll have more authority." Ethan looked at his father, this man he'd spent his whole life trying to impress, and felt something strange. Not anger, not bitterness, just clarity. "You had your chance, Dad, and you made your choice." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't slam the door. He just closed it firmly, finally. 2 weeks later, he got a call from Harrington Development, one of their biggest clients. Their CEO invited him to lunch, not in a rushed, business-like way, in a "we've been hoping you'd reach out" way. They offered him a position with more authority, more respect, and triple his salary. "We've seen how you operate, Ethan. You're the real deal." For the first time in years, he felt valued, seen, wanted. He accepted the offer. Leaving his family's business hurt, but staying would have killed his self-worth. Harrington Development didn't just give him a job, they gave him trust. They let him rebuild operations his way. Efficiently, ethically, smartly. Within 6 months, the company grew so fast they had to lease a second office space. He became the guy clients asked for by name, the one employees respected, the one whose decisions mattered, and he didn't look back. 8 months after he left, Ethan got a call. His mother, voice shaky. "Ethan, your father's in the hospital, heart attack. Clara can't manage the company. It's falling apart. We need you." Minutes later, Clara called too, and for the first time, her voice wasn't arrogant or sugary or proud. It was broken. "I messed everything up. I thought I could handle it. I didn't know how hard it was for you. Ethan, I'm sorry." He expected satisfaction, triumph, vindication, but instead, he felt something more powerful. Peace. He had already won, not because their company was falling, but because he no longer needed their approval. He wasn't the shadow they walked over. He wasn't the safety net. He was finally his own man. So he grabbed his keys and started driving to the hospital, not out of obligation or desperation, but out of strength. When he walked into that hospital room, his father looked small, human, not the towering figure who once controlled Ethan's future, and in his eyes there was remorse. Real, unfiltered remorse. Ethan didn't gloat. He didn't say, "I told you so." He simply said, "Let's talk when you're better." Because the real revenge wasn't watching the company collapse, it was this. Ethan no longer needed them, but they finally realized they had always needed him. The true payoff wasn't a dramatic corporate takeover. It wasn't revenge in the Hollywood sense. It was deeper. The moment Ethan walked out of Matthews Construction, the company that thought he was replaceable realized something brutal. He wasn't at all, not even close. Their empire crumbled without the son they dismissed, and the man they called operations manager material became the backbone of a larger, more successful company. They didn't just lose an employee, they lost the one person who had been holding everything together. That's revenge, quiet, poetic, devastating. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone, it's showing them who you become when they'll no longer have access to you. Ethan didn't return for validation, he didn't return to be the hero, he returned because he finally understood. Walking away wasn't weakness, it was power. If this story hit you in the chest the way it hit me, smash that like button, it helps more than you know. Let me know in the comments, have you ever been underestimated and proved someone wrong? I'd love to read your stories, and of course, subscribe for more emotionally charged, justice-filled Reddit stories.